Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here. In today's video, I will be giving you guys my outlook for the Washington Commanders offensive line room in 2022. I'll be going player by player, telling you guys if I think he will make the team, and we'll also talk about some surprise cuts. And I'll also go over what I think will be the starting offensive line for the Washington Commanders. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. So let's first look at, who is on the roster that is an offensive lineman for the Washington Commanders. And also, I forgot to say it in the intro, I think this group is better than it was last year, so we're going to talk about that at the end. But the offensive linemen, let's go with the first guys: Charles Leno, Andrew Norwell, Chase Roullier, Wes Schweitzer, Sam Cosmi. You got Cornelius Lucas, Trey Turner, Tyler Larson, Bo B, Sadiq Charles, and then you got some other guys as well: Keith Ismail, Chris Paul. We talked about him, and John Toth, and some other undrafted free agent guys as well. So let's go ahead and start with Charles Leno. Charles Leno is a consistent guy. He hasn't missed a game in a very, very long time. I don't think in his tenure with the Chicago Bears, and last year did not miss a game as well. And he's not an elite tackle, but he's a very, very solid tackle, and really didn't have that many penalty issues last year. Didn't allow a ton of sacks, and he's going to be the starting left tackle for the Washington Commanders this year. And what to expect from him, I think he's just going to be a solid guy. Is he going to be a top 5 tackle in the league? No, but I think he's an average to slightly above average tackle. I think that's kind of how he played last year, and that's how I expect him to play in year 2 of being in the system, with playing under John Matsko and playing with some, I guess the guy next to him won't necessarily be the same as he was last year, but still getting some more consistency with the playbook, and the coaches will help him out a little bit. And I think he's going to be solid, maybe a tiny bit better than he was last year, just because of being in the system another year. I think will help him for sure. So he's going to be a starting left tackle. Next guy is Andrew Norwell. I believe he will be the starting left guard for the Washington Commanders. And a lot of people, when Ereck Flowers was released, were upset. I was as well. But they saved $10 million when they cut him. When they signed Andrew Norwell for about $5 million, but it's a $2 or $3 million cap hit, I believe, in year 1. And Andrew Norwell, if you go Andrew Norwell last year versus Ereck Flowers, Ereck Flowers did play better, but here's just some background. First off, Andrew Norwell's playing with just terrible offensive linemen around him for the most part. There's a couple okay ones, so that definitely hurts him a little bit. And also playing, Ereck Flowers is playing under a great offensive line coach that gets the best out of his players. And I think Andrew Norwell this year will be better than what Ereck Flowers was last year for the Commanders, just because he thrived in this system before under John Matsko and some of these other offensive coaches. That's when he was an all-pro, and yes, that was a few years ago, and I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro this year, but I think he will be very, very solid to good for the Commanders this year. And yeah, he's been in the system for a while. He knows John Matsko. He knows Ron Rivera. And he even was still solid last year. He wasn't elite, but I think he will be better than he was last year. Also, playing with a better offensive line around him will help as well. So I'm excited to see what Andrew Norwell can do, as a cheap signing. And yeah, familiar with the system, so definitely like him for sure. Next guy is Chase Roullier, one of the most underrated players in the National Football League, one of the better centers in the NFL, coming off a major injury. And again, another reason why I think this offensive line will be better than it was last year. They ranked top 5 in a lot of metrics last year, top 10, and that was with Chase Roullier missing the most, the most of the season. He was out. Let's see, he got hurt week 8 in that Broncos game. So after that, he was out for the season. So they missed him for more than half of the year, and that really, really hurt him. And not only they missed him, Tyler Larson, Wes Schweitzer, so many guys that were crucial to this team at that center position or guard, they missed. So I think that will help us out a ton. But Chase Roullier, he's expected to be ready for maybe even training camp. That's the goal. I think he will be ready for the start of the season. I don't really have much doubt about that. Chase Young and Logan Thomas, on the other hand, that's a different question. But I think Chase Roullier will be fine to start the season. And yeah, we know what we're going to get from him, one of the better centers in the league, definitely top 10, could argue even top 5. He's still relatively young, 28 years old, so he's got, a few really good years left in him. So excited to see what he can do. Hopefully he's able to bounce back from that injury. Really unfortunate that it happened last year. So next guy, I think he will be the starter, is Trey Turner. And you could argue it's Trey Turner or Wes Schweitzer. We will see. And yeah, this is the one downgrade on the offensive line. Brandon Sheriff, yeah, he was really good for the Commanders for the last, a long time, made an All-Pro. And, he was definitely good, but always missing games, forcing guys like Wes Schweitzer to come in. So he is a loss. Don't get me wrong. Brandon Sheriff was one of the best offensive linemen we've had over the last decade besides Trent Williams. He was very good for us, but Trey Turner is solid. He's not great, but again, another player that played under the system, was an All-Pro and a multi time Pro Bowler in this system. So I think he will benefit from that. But no, he's not going to be the same player Brandon Sheriff was, but I think he can be a little bit more consistent in terms of how many games he's able to play, because he's been healthier than Brandon Sheriff for the most part, but he has struggled with some injuries in the past. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting battle between him and Wes Schweitzer, but I think Wes Schweitzer is more valuable as a backup than Trey Turner is as a backup. So that's why I think Wes Schweitzer or Trey Turner will be that starter. But that's the big downgrade on the line. All the other guys I think are upgrades or will get better this year. In Charles Leno, Andrew Norwell, and then Chase Roullier was out last year. But yeah, Brandon Sheriff definitely better than Trey Turner, but I don't think it's a huge downgrade like some people think. And then next guy, Sam Cosmi. I think this is another position where he played last year, but he was out for about half the season, and also he's was a rookie last year, so you hope he takes a big second year leap. And I really like what we saw from Sam Cosmi last year. Let's see how many games he played. 9 games. So played in 9 games, started 9. So was out for 8 games. So basically played half the season with he had an ankle injury, a hip injury, which is unfortunate. But when he did play, he was very solid for the Commanders. You can see some of these stats. 3rd best run block win rate among all tackles. 5th highest PFF overall grade for a rookie since 2017, and ranked 11th overall in PFF run blocking grade. So he is he was a beast last year, just only was able to play 9 games and had some injuries, which is unfortunate. But having him back, hopefully for all 6 or 17 games this year, and being a little bit better in year 2, I think will be a huge boost to this offensive line. So I'm really excited to see what Sam Cosmi can do for us, because that was a really good pick in the 2nd round. Now he's just got to stay healthy and basically do what he did last year, and he's going to be fine, and this offensive line is going to be fine. So that's kind of my projected starters right there. Of course, all those guys are making the roster. Next guy, Wes Schweitzer, one of the most important players on this team. Even if he doesn't start, I think he's just more important or more valuable as a backup, because here's the thing, even if Trey Turner, and in camp, Trey Turner, Wes Schweitzer are kind of similar in terms of how they're playing, I would probably start Trey Turner just because you have Wes Schweitzer who, hey, let's say Andrew Norwell goes down, you can just plug in Wes Schweitzer at left guard. If Trey Turner goes down, you can plug him in at right guard. Maybe even if Chase Roullier goes down, you can plug him at center. Let's say it's Wes Schweitzer starting at right guard, and Andrew Norwell, or let's say Wes Schweitzer gets hurt. Then you have to put Trey Turner at right guard, and then it's just harder to move the guys around when Wes Schweitzer can play basically all 3 interior positions. So allows for more versatility and allows for, if an injury happens, you just have to switch one position. But if Wes Schweitzer is starting, then you kind of have to switch 2 positions. Let's say Wes Schweitzer's at right guard and Andrew Norwell gets hurt at left guard. You then switch Wes Schweitzer to left guard and then Trey Turner to right guard. You're switching 2 different positions. It's just harder. So I think he's more valuable as a backup, but he's a very good backup, and I'm happy that he's on this team. Obviously going to make the roster. Same thing with Cornelius Lucas, a very valuable backup that they extended, and he's their 3rd tackle on the team that he's going to make the roster, but they don't have that much many tackles besides the 3, Leno, Cosmi and Lucas, but Cosmi's good. He's a freak, 6'8", 330 pounds. And yeah, I mean, if Cosmi goes down or if Leno goes down, he can hold it down for a few games and is a good swing tackle as well. Not much more to say about him. He's a good player, happy he's back, and yeah, he's going to obviously make the roster. So that puts you at 7 offensive linemen. Usually it's like 9 to 10, but that's the 7th right there. Next guy, Sadiq Charles. This is one where like I think he's probably going to make the roster, but he could be a surprise cut. Haven't heard great things about him. Haven't heard great things about him in terms of, what he's done in the offseason, in OTAs and minicamp. A lot of people are saying like Efe Obada is just beating him left and right. But, things can definitely change. And also he has an advantage over other guys where he can play tackle and guard. And he's not an amazing tackle, but he can play it if necessary. And that, guys that have versatility like that are crucial and are more valuable than guys that don't. So, and Ron Rivera, of course, loves that for sure. So we'll see what happens with Sadiq Charles, how he plays and how he does in training camp and in the preseason. He's a guy that's kind of on the bubble, but if I had to guess, he probably makes the roster. So that puts you at 8. And then the next guy, Tyler Larsen, he's coming off that, Achilles injury. I think it was a, rupture. Who knows when he comes back? If he's there to start the season, he'll be that backup center. If not, maybe he starts on IR and then eventually comes on to, makes the team. Eventually makes the team. So we'll see what happens with Larsen. But if he's healthy, he's the backup center. And if not, then he's on IR, and that opens up another spot for someone to possibly make the team. So those are the guys that I think are likely to make the team. Some other guys that have a chance, I think Chris Paul, obviously 7th round pick, he has a chance to make it. They just are carrying so many guards that it's like, I don't know, like it's almost like they need another tackle, and that's kind of why I think Sadiq Charles could make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough. It's tough, but Chris Paul definitely has a chance to make it. You look at some of the other guys, Keith Ismail, maybe if Larsen starts the season on IR, after they finalize the 53-man roster, maybe he's a guy that makes the team. And then the other guys, I don't know. John Toth, I doubt it. Tyrese Robinson, same thing. Yeah. So let me know what you guys think about this offensive line. Overall, I think it's a little bit better than it was last year. And if they can stay healthy, I think this is a really, really solid offensive line. And they got some really, really great guard depth. Maybe need to improve the tackle depth a little bit, but I don't really know if they can do that at this point. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.